Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Fandom Face-Off. This week we've got
Yes.
two more juggernauts. DC,
Yep.
the home of Batman,
Mm-hmm.
Superman,
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Potter, the
Just
home of Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger,
Dumbledore.
Dumbledore, Snape.
Yep.
Oh my god, that'll be stuck on my head forever.
The fact
no.
you knew
Yeah.
exactly what I was referencing is perfect.
Anyway, as always, 6 categories. They are very,
Yep.
very simple categories: size, dedication, toxicity, infighting, weirdness, and personal preference. I might have to reorder them because at first them categories could be used for a very different thing.
It's true.
So, Fandom Face-Off obviously kicked off last week to give
Yep,
people
I
a bit of
did.
a taste of how it was going to work. And we've got the second part of the bracket this week. Another comic book legend in DC
Mm-hmm.
versus Harry Potter.
British Empire.
The little British boy come to die. It got interesting while I was trying to come up with my notes for this.
Yeah.
I feel like our geographical bias,
It's
although
tough.
obviously Harry Potter is worldwide, it's obviously bigger here than basically anywhere else in the world.
Yes.
I'm just like, but is it like close to that level? And that was my big debate. Do I put it in like this S tier of like Marvel, DC, Star Wars, or is it more in the A tier of like Harry Potter and other like big fandoms that aren't quite that crazy large in raw numbers?
Yeah.
I just feel like if I took a picture of Superman anywhere in the world, literally anywhere,
Yeah.
you are not going to find 3 people in a row that don't know that that's Superman. I feel like I take a picture of Harry Potter and do the same thing, I've got a much better chance of finding 3 people who don't have a fucking clue who that little white boy is.
Yeah, I think we unfortunately like it's really hard because we do, like you said, we have very Regency bias to this because Harry Potter was everywhere for us. Like, it's hard to imagine people not knowing Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But I think yes, over the last like 5 years, I want to say like it's got bigger globally over time,
Which is crazy. Bearing in mind they don't put anything new out,
which is crazy, and it's like. Yes, those like I like to think like America's the next big like
market.
Yeah, they knew Harry Potter when it was coming out, but like it was a niche thing of like, oh, there's this film series. Like them breaking into America, they did well, but like people weren't obsessed the same way. Whereas if you took Superman around, everyone, like you say, everyone around the world knows, oh, Superman. You could show them Batman and it would be just the same.
In communist Russia, they love Superman.
It's like those characters are so iconic that I think purely just that alone shows the size of DC's reach.
Put it this way. The debate isn't who's more famous, Spider-Man or Superman or Harry Potter. It's who's more famous, Superman or Spider-Man.
Yes, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say DC and Marvel are the 2 largest in the entire world.
Yeah.
I'd say they're even bigger than Star Wars. Both of them. We agreed last week that Marvel was bigger than Star Wars. I think DC's comparable, but I think it's slightly larger.
The only other thing in my head that's like up there to challenge them would be Lord of the Rings.
I think that's personal bias there. I think Lord of the Rings is actually a little bit smaller than you realise.
Maybe.
I think Lord of the Rings is in the Harry Potter bracket of that A tier.
Potentially. But in this case, I do think just it's hard to argue, but DC just has numbers on.
Also, DC feels like a big brand. where Harry Potter is still treated like a niche, even though it isn't.
Still, yeah. It's still strongly associated to our small set of islands.
Yeah. And I think that kind of hurts with the perspective of it sometimes.
A little bit, yeah.
Dedication. Now, I think this is where we get the answer to why Harry Potter feels so huge.
Yes.
The Harry Potter brand has continued to grow when they've not released a new film in 12 years.
Yes.
Do you know how fucking insane that is?
Yeah, it's wild. And the fans, and put it this way, fans are so dedicated. They picked houses that they wanted to be part of back in the first film. They are still to this day will be like, I am Gryffindor. I am Ravenclaw. Like,
fuck yeah, I'm Ravenclaw.
Same. Or was it Josh's Hufflepuff?
Yeah, of course, Josh is Hufflepuff.
But like, that's the thing. People are so dedicated to that stuff. And it's like, yes, they had the kind of side films that they tried to help push into the American market. But like, still, like you said, it has grown over the years, considering we've not had a film in years.
Put it this way, we've now got an entire generation of Harry Potter fans who've grown up with nothing new Harry Potter, and it's still growing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They are one of the most dedicated fan bases, for better or for worse. They are die-hard dedicated.
Yeah, and don't go like DC is dedicated. I would say the fans are.
I had them as decent, very flip-floppy.
I would say they are dedicated to like the core of DC. Like, DC fans are very dedicated to, they love Batman. They will be very flip-floppy on, oh, this was a good Batman, this was bad, or this current era of DC is bad, we don't like you anymore. Because they're constantly hopeful of the DC they want to be dedicated to, if that makes sense.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think they are very decisive in how they feel about something with no wiggle room. It's like, this was bad, this was good. There's no like, okay, what about that was bad, what about that was good? It's just like, no, bad, good, that's it. There's no nuance to the debating.
Yeah, it's almost like each DC fan is dedicated to their little bubble of DC they like, but not necessarily to
the Flash kicks Superman's ass.
Not necessarily to like, they love DC, like they are hardcore dedicated to everything DC.
Toxicity.
Now, Harry Potter. There's a thing here. Are we talking toxicity from the author or toxicity from the fans?
All I've written for Harry Potter is I think the platform that was given to the author, who I'm not going to give any airtime to, will have, unfortunately, influenced at least part of the fandom. But it would also be crazy to say that there are not Harry Potter fans who actively hate what she has used her platform for.
I would say
at every opportunity, and at every opportunity, try and move away from it belonging to her in their heads. And they're like, no, this is ours. A large part of the fandom, I feel, was kind of reclaimed the franchise from her.
I think
she doesn't deserve it.
I think it's fair to say nowadays that she isn't even classed as part of the fandom anymore. And Harry Potter, whether they try to claim that they are the one that created it, doesn't matter. The brand, that Harry Potter world has been claimed by the fans, and I think the toxic stuff is very loudly shut down by the fan base.
They do, of course, have their moments. They bicker like every fandom, but I don't think outside of that one horrific, glaring problem, that they are more or less toxic than any other fandom is inherently.
Yeah, I would agree there.
DC is toxic as fuck.
Yes.
And it comes from that, what we were talking about a minute ago, the little very much, this is my character.
This is my bubble.
And yeah.
Snyder fans.
And, well, we'll get to them later in a bit. But it comes very much from, like, even down to, like, Batman. You'll have Batman fans, but there's even toxicity within the Batman fans. They're like, no, this is the best Batman. No, this is the best Batman. I like it when Batman is a bit goofy because he has 12 million adopted kids. And you got like Bat fam lovers, and then you got people like no, dark and brooding and hates the world. One bad day, and shit like that, and that kind of bleeds a bit into infighting, but it gets very toxic very quickly.
Yeah, and I think you also get that across all the different characters. It's kind of like the issue we talked about with Marvel had it, which is like you get some fans that are a bit too hardcore on their like little bubble that they then start lashing out, and people that say, or like might question, oh, that DC project wasn't that good, and they're like, no, this is the great, and then they'll attack anybody that tries to tell them that theirs might not be as amazing as they think it is.
I think the toxicity within DC is very comparable to Marvel and Star Wars because of the size. You're gonna have fans who have no problem saying the most heinous shit ever.
Yeah.
And as a result, that's out there forever. Just constantly. And there's just more of them because there's more raw numbers.
Yeah. I would agree there.
Infighting.
I mean, I feel like we just touched on it a bit there with DC, but like the infighting between Batman fans versus other Batman fans.
Yeah, there is. It goes so deep.
Yeah,
DC, and it's like, partly because the character's been around for so long, right?
Yes.
There's so many different interpretations, and I myself like characters to have loads of different interpretations, and it's completely natural to have an interpretation you love. The wild thing is then deciding that your interpretation is the only one that matters.
It's the gospel, yeah.
And it's genuinely like using the word gospel there is perfect. It's almost religious hatred. It's like, no, I like this version of Batman. No, I like this version of Batman. Like, it comes down even to the villains. It's like Joker. I like the Clown Prince Crime Joker. No, I like the Anarchist Joker. No, I like the Mafia Joker. Or like infighting about a particular part of the character, like Deathstroke. Is Deathstroke a Teen Titans villain? Is he a Batman villain? Is he a generic villain that can fight anyone? It's like, you guys just fight about every tiny little thing until no one can enjoy anything.
And then that spreads into the films.
Yes.
And all absolutely. That content. And it's like,
been made even worse by the lack of direction at DC for the last 10 years.
Yeah, which hasn't helped. And then you've got the things like we've talked many a time on the podcast of like Snyder fans and how that's created such a big like infighting amongst DC fans. They're like, no, we just want good DC stuff. The Snyder stuff's not that good. And like, no, this is the best DC films we've ever had. And it's like, it's not though. Yeah. I feel like Harry Potter's infighting kind of goes as far as my house is better than your house.
It is so mild. Because I feel like a lot of it's almost been like, they've come to a conclusion. I feel like it was almost less of a fight, more of a debate, and now they've got to, and everyone like agrees on like a specific headcanon. It feels like over in Harry Potter they've gone like, I think this, I think this. Look at evidence, look at evidence, look at evidence, and they end up here and they're like, I can accept this. I can accept this. Okay.
Yeah, the infighting is often like very small little things. Or like, oh no, this person did this decision because of this, and then someone's like, no, well they did it probably this way.
And I think part of it because there's not been new stuff added. So you just look at the old stuff and then you can like go, oh wait, have we considered this on page 120 of book 7? Oh, well, if we consider, and like eventually you do just eventually bring it down to this little, and you're like, this is the truth.
And then it's like,
it doesn't
the other stuff is like, oh, my house is better than yours. But then at the end of the day, that all then just comes down to, well, we all picked like into our houses. It's just competition. It's like, actually, no house is better than the other. We are in our houses because we are meant to be in our houses.
In the middle of our street, our house.
Hufflepuff?
Weirdness.
Now,
DC fans are so weird, bro.
yeah.
They're so weird.
It's the same thing we said with Marvel. It's like, I feel like surface level DC, especially with like the films, you can have like people that are like, oh yeah, the Batman trilogy films were good. The new stuff's been kind of it's like, okay, I enjoy like the DC films, some of the old cartoons, and then you start going deeper into it like we did with Marvel. It's like you get the weirdness starts to show when you get like the obsessiveness comes out.
Big time. Yeah. Oh, I know it's a subsection of every community. I know they exist. The Rule 30 for us.
Yeah.
It seems to be really bad over in DC. And I don't know if it's just a more acceptable base level, but the amount of people who I see, they see a version of a character, and they're like, not sexy enough. Yeah. I'm like, my brother in Christ. That is Alfred Pennyworth. What is your problem?
What a choice to use for the example.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
They just seem to want everything to be this kind of weird... And I'm not some kind of like prude who's like anti the idea of characters being hot or anything, but they just seem to want everything to be put through like a porn filter before it gets onto the final print at times. I'm trying like the redesigns of Harley since she's separated from the Joker. And they're like, look, they've ruined her. She's not sexy anymore. It's like, no, but you're missing the point. It's about character development.
Yeah.
She didn't dress that way for her. She dressed that way because Joker didn't view her as a person and as an object, and she's reclaiming her own life.
Yep.
Where is your media literacy?
I think you're right. DC has some very weird areas of their fandom. I feel like the weirdest Harry Potter fans get are those people that like they almost live their life as if I am this house. I must live by this house's rule. Like they go a bit too deep with the obsession.
So I've written down Disney adult vibes.
Yes. Yeah. Which is
They're
like
harmless but a bit weird.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you've gone a bit deep there, but like I respect that you're into it that much. But yeah, no. It's that like, okay, you're hardcore into the fun of that world.
They would probably argue we're weird if we're sitting here every week and talking about the stuff we love for an hour and a half.
Exactly.
It's different strokes for different folks, I guess. Now, personal preference. Bearing in mind how much I've ragged on DC, I would find it more difficult to give up DC than Harry Potter.
I think I would agree.
I just feel like because there's always so much new stuff coming out that I want to talk about. Not being able to talk about DC stuff would impact me more.
Yeah, I've definitely, considering some of the Harry Potter films I've only seen once and I've never read the books, it's like, yes, Harry Potter's great, but in the grand scheme of things, like Harry Potter's been and gone. It's done.
Yeah.
Like DC's still, I mean, for example, we got DCU in the next year. Like, I think I have had more enjoyment from DC because there's been more content that I've watched and appreciated.
Yes. Right, ready to top
Yeah,
scores?
I think it's time to top the scores.
Okay, size, DC.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Dedication, Harry Potter.
I would agree as well. Harry Potter is severely dedicated.
I would suggest Harry Potter is less toxic.
Agreed.
Making it 2-1 Harry Potter.
Yep.
I would say there's less infighting at Harry Potter. Making it 3-1 Harry Potter.
Yep.
I would say, although, yeah, they are Disney adult weird, they are ultimately harmless. So Harry Potter probably isn't as weird.
Yeah, I would agree there.
Making it 4-1 Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Our preference is both for DC, which would make it 4-2 Harry Potter.
Yep, this is correct.
Harry Potter is the better fandom, and I can accept that.
Yeah.
I think that does make sense. I did say I feel like the way we've set this up, the smaller fandoms are probably going to do better.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. We have our first
second
semi-final locked in.
Oh yeah. I thought you were about to say first person through.
No, we've got our first semi-final locked in. Would you like to hear who we've got next week?
I'm gonna hate it, aren't I?
It's a fun one.
Oh no.
Disney adults.
Okay.
Versus Snyder cultists.
Oh. I mean, I feel like we could just give the answer now, just purely off like personal bias.
Yeah, but instead we could have come up with some fun zingers.
True.
Thank you as always for tuning into the Fandom Face-Off. Make sure you leave it a like. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on all of the platforms. We're on literally all of them. Go check. All the links will be down below. Thank you.
Let us know who you had winning, DC or Harry Potter.
Were we wrong? Were we wrong? Is DC far superior?
Are we just British biased?
Yeah.
Is that the issue here?
British pilled. And we will catch you next week.